No search. I've been running in and out of meetings.
Where my mini is.
You're all plugged?
Yeah.
There's no water.
Friday.
No water.
Of course there's one.
That I
Well,
not first.
I gotta transfer my.
Okay, what's that?
Yeah, please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being conducted in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. The Verona Board of Education passed a resolution at its meeting held on December 12, 2017. The meeting set forth the schedule of its regular meetings, which resolution was within 7 days of passage. The schedule was sent to the Verona Cedar Grove Times, the Star Ledger, the Herald News, the Township of Verona, and the Verona Education Association. Postings of this meeting setting forth the time, location, and agenda were posted in each of Verona's 6 schools, the board office, and town hall. This posting was also sent to the above newspapers, all SCA presidents, and SCA liaisons. The Verona Board of Education operates under a consent agenda format. Any board member has a right to have an item pulled to be voted upon or discussed separately. Copies of tonight's agenda and resolutions have been made available to the public present. Mr. Day?
Here.
Mrs. Bernardino?
Here.
Mr. Elliott?
Here.
Mrs. Fresky? Here. Mr. Quattrochi?
Here.
Okay, we're going to start the reorganization meeting by going over the election results. Just bear with me 1 second. So the election for one seat with a 3-year term was held on November 7, 2017. Mrs. Fresky received 1,710 votes. Mr. Connor Can received 1,699 votes. There were a total of 10,892 votes cast, which was a turnout of 31%. At this point, I would like to call Mrs. Fresky up to the podium so we can swear her in.
I, Lisa Fresky, do solemnly swear
I, Lisa Fresky, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and this state,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and this state,
under the authority of the people, so help me God.
under the authority of the people, so help me God.
I, Lisa Fresky, do solemnly swear that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of member of Board of Education,
I, Lisa Fresky, do solemnly swear that I possess the qualifications prescribed by the law for the office of member of the Board of Education,
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all duties of that office according to the best of my ability.
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of that office according to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Okay, can I ask for a nomination for the position of board president?
I'd like to nominate John Quattrochi.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, so all in favor of Mr. Quattrochi holding the position of board president for the next year? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
He's like,
Okay, so now I turn the meeting over to Mr. Quattrochi. Okay, so now, Mr. Quattrochi, you would call for nominations for the position of vice president.
Any nominations for Vice President?
Nominate Mrs. Fresky.
Okay, any other nominations? Okay, roll call, all in favor? Everyone in we have any public comment or question on any agenda item? Okay, we have on the agenda itself, we do have some resolutions that are annual pro forma sort of resolutions that we do tonight. So if they seem odd to anyone in the public, that they just, we have to do each year like committees and a few others. So with that, we do have one presentation tonight, or one presentation with the number of presenters. We have Mr. Miller, Director of Curriculum and Instruction and Assessment, along with Mr. Stevenson and Dr. Bangier for our supervisors. And we'll turn over to Mr. Miller.
Thank you. Good evening. Tonight we're going to talk about just where we are right now, our updates, with our 2017-18 curriculum, instruction, and assessment. We're going to begin, as always, with our mission statement. And we underline active learning and productive citizens. That's what we believe what our students should be. And we provide, this department especially, a rigorous curriculum with our principals and teachers to make meaningful, enriching experiences for our students. A couple things I'd like to talk about tonight. Our evaluation update. So we use Dr. Marzano's evaluation system. And over the next 4 months, the previous 4 months, we've completed roughly 200 formal observations. The average district score is 3.35. Friendly reminder is that an effective range for a teacher is between 2.65 and 3.49. So we're moving to the right. We have some really, really effective teaching in our buildings. This is just a graphic of beginning with the blue, which is September, then we have October, November, December of our pattern of observations that are formal. And then our how we score. So roughly 1/3 of our scores are considered innovating. That means that when our teachers are presenting ideas, the majority to all the students are involved with a learning goal or if it's with a certain teaching practice. Roughly 2/3 of how we score our teachers, it means that they're effective, which is called applying in Marzano. And then we have some teachers that receive developing scores, but there aren't many. It makes up less than 1%. Another big piece we've been working on are our walkthroughs. Walkthroughs are essential that we conduct these in between our formal observations. So we have about 550, it's actually 555 recorded walkthroughs, and I'm underlining recorded because recorded means there are other times that we visit, it just doesn't get recorded. But we have over 550 that are recorded. Feedback continues to be positive, supportive, and constructive. Again, if you look in September, which is blue, we had 223 walkthroughs because we don't have a lot of formal observations. We tend to have just visits. We're setting up for our formal pre-conference visits, which tend to take place in October and November. So as you see, the number drops for our walkthroughs, but the number for our formal observations were increased. So there's a balance there. The goal is that every administrator sees their teacher who they're responsible for at least once a month, either with an informal observation or a formal observation. I equate it to coaching. If we coached students just twice a year, how effective would that be? So we can coach our teachers at least once a month. That's a step in the right direction. I wish it was every week, but it's just not possible. Neat graphic that Dr. Dinius and I were talking about were the participation numbers. So I'm going to talk first about AP, then I'm going to talk about dual enrollment, and then I'm going to talk about the breakdown of male and female, because these questions have come up to us through emails, and we would like to just put it on the record. It's pretty amazing, the results. So we take a look, there's so many classes that we present. I break them down by class. So this first works on our humanities, 2/3 of our humanities section. Language arts, so we have language composition. And you look at the last 5 years. So blue is in 2014, 2015 is red, 2016, 17, and blue is 2018. See, language composition and lit are both heavily attended. We had that 1 year, if you remember back in 2014, when Ms. Young had 56 students, which was like 40% of the senior class. It's amazing. I'll tell you where that number is shifting. So it's still there. So this year we have 29 and 28 in language lit. Then we have Chinese, which is consistent, around 10. French, which has moved up a little bit to be 11. And Spanish is 11 this year as well. Overall, our numbers for these 5 classes over the last 5 years, it's 491 students. It's almost 500 students. About 100 students a year who participate in these classes. When we take a look at just history, because our social studies department is very big, and thanks to Dr. Banjo, we've expanded these ideas. So we have European history, human geography. If you look, 2014 and 15 didn't exist. This year we have 54 students. It's an awesome class. Psychology used to be, and I'll go over this when we go over dual enrollment, it used to be a dual enrollment class, but now it is an AP class. We have 57 students taking the class. Kids love psychology, and they love their teacher this time. U.S. history has been going strong. We're at 35 this year, but we've been at 45 and down to 35. Government and politics, 2014 was large, but then environmental science came in at AP, and that removed numbers. So there's a balancing as we go through, as we offer new classes. And then world history, we started that 3 years ago with our freshmen. It's gone from 17, 23 now to 28. So the numbers are there, and the total, if I did my math correctly, I better, I'm a math major, 615 students over the last 5 years. And you have to take into consideration, psychology's been offered for 1 year, and world history's been for 3, and human geography's only been for 3. So the numbers would even be higher. We'd probably be about 800 students. So I'll do this again a bit. Now we go to mathematics.
Excuse me.
Yes,
I have just a quick question.
back to this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just more on why did psychology change from dual enrollment to AP? Is there reasoning around that, or?
Yeah, well, the thinking was if it's dual enrollment, that would be fine, but there's an AP offering, and that's like considered a gateway course for some of our kids. So if they could take AP psychology, that builds confidence in students to take other AP classes. Dr. Deason, do you want to add anything to that?
I think you hit the nail on the head on that one.
Yeah.
So
So it's just more of a strategic insight
Yeah.
decision,
It
not
could-
that one is more beneficial?
It allows students who may not have the confidence, they take AP psychology and they handle it and they do well. They'll go, you know, well, maybe I'll consider this next year or these two the following year. It builds confidence in students. No longer available. We moved because our staff, we moved it from dual enrollment, but we still get the kids the experience. Okay? You're welcome. Mathematics, we have 5 classes. Our calculus numbers are pretty consistent. We offer A, B, and BC. Mr. Wirtz is very flexible. Sometimes if we have scheduling issues, even if the student is like in AB, calculus AB is really calculus 1 in college. Calculus BC is calculus 1 and 2. The difference with calculus BC is you get into all the integration techniques and into series of sequences, where calculus AB stops after some integration. So it goes back and forth. His numbers are pretty consistent. He has between 40 and 50 students a year. Comp Sci, that's all Mr. Wirtz. It's our most heavily attended AP class in the school. He has 63 students this year. Our computer science principals, out of the gates was 53 students last year. It went down to 10. It went down because there were a lot of students who were put in there, and the students now that were computer science principals are now taking computer science A. That's why you see a surge. And there were other students who said, I'm not going to take that class. So we need to do, when we do scheduling this year, talk to them about they're interchangeable. It doesn't matter which one you take first. In theory, you should take computer science principles because that doesn't require the Java language. They start with like basic, and I think other easier to understand languages. But we had a migration to computer science A, and the kids that are computer science A are finished. They take software engineering with Mr. Wirtz.
computer science person,
That's a Harvard class. Yes, it is, and that's followed by many schools. And in statistics has been, our AP class has been pretty consistent. We had 45, which is near our peak, but we've been as low as 34. Overall with math, we have 729 students in the last 5 years in an AP math class. And then the other big group is our science group. And if you look at biology, it's, when I first started here, it was 16 students. Now it's 51. So that's a substantial increase. Chemistry, it's not just in this district, but there is a significant drop. We are working on it, right, Mr. Stevenson? The numbers have increased. So if you look at chemistry, there's 17. That is a move. Environmental science, that's a huge move. 70. The one I like to explain with more detail is Physics 1. In 2016, it's yellow, it was one student. It wasn't offered here. Last year, we dove in. It was a very new course. We had 67 students take it. It's conceptual, it's challenging, and it's not well supported. So what we decided to do was to bring those kids back to honors. And the students who wanted to take Physics 1, right now we have 9, they enrolled. The rest of the students, I'd say there's probably 70 students that are in Physics honors. When we find better support in the AP class, we'll probably offer Physics 1 at a larger level again. Well, it was new. There were no real questions to review. The curriculum's young. It's meant to be, we thought it was originally a gateway course, right, Glenn? Where kids just with algebra understanding could take physics, and that was the intention. But the district national average, you need a 3 to pass, it's 2.22. Like across the country, no one does well on this course. So students were getting very nervous here. They want to take the class and pass it. We had very few, there are no tests that are available to study from. I think it was the 3rd year it was available, Physics 1.
So it's new. When it's new, it's not only new here, it's new to College Board across the whole.
Across the country.
So, no, right.
No.
It's a brand new course altogether, so.
From College Board. No, we even tried forming like a local Essex group, and a lot of them were like, well, we don't really know either. So it's pacing, it's what you focus on. AP groups, every year I've taught calculus, there are different shifts, different foci, and with this we were in the dark, so we decided to retreat some for now. When we get more information, we will then promote it again. So that may come with this question. We wanted to clarify that. The Physics C is about the same. Physics C is a challenging course. It requires, if kids have calculus, and these kids do, it helps. But physics and chemistry are more challenging courses. They're math heavy. And they're experiential, but you still have to understand the math. And overall with physics, we're at 605 over the last 5 years. And new for this year, we have AP Psych, and then we have AP. We have I'll give this copy to you, 605 total over the last 5 years.
Not physics, science.
Oh, for science, I'm sorry. For science in general. If physics, I'd have to change my contacts and look at that again. So new classes for AP are psychology and then AP macroeconomics. Our macroeconomics, it's too early to tell, to put it in a graph, but we had 26 students this year taking macro. Last year we were 23.
23 last year was in micro.
Micro.
And we alternate every other year, so we can, in a small school, support both classes.
But every other year.
And students will have 2 opportunities within 4 years to have to take those classes.
Correct. I didn't put it on there because I don't know, it wasn't really part of the Big Four, and there wasn't much to represent there. So when we get to dual enrollment, because I know Mr. Quattrochi and others like to see what happens with dual enrollment too, because that's another opportunity for our students to earn college credits. Makes sense, right? So I tried making it as large as possible. I blew up the font some, but I'll read it to you from left to right. It's SUPA Accounting, so that's done through Syracuse University Project Advance. It's the best dual enrollment in the country because our teachers go there. They have to have at least a master's degree, doctorate preferably, and they receive training in the summer. And when they come back and teach it, they follow Syracuse University's curriculum. So we get board approval on their syllabi. And then what happens is the teacher visits at least twice a year from Syracuse and comes down and visits and to make sure that what we're teaching is what we should be teaching. So it's legitimate. So it's SUPA Accounting. Careers in Education is a dovetail. One, because it required 3 periods from one of our business teachers, and we didn't have the time, so we now have an option 2 policy that we approved a year ago. Any student that wants to work like in an elementary school through option 2, and Ms. Salisbury is in charge of that, she now monitors the students in the spring. So we still offer careers in education, but it's done through an option 2. So we worked around that. Core English is what we do. This is the only one that's a little bit different. We had an agreement a few years back that Core English